Hello everyone, welcome to William and the Magic Box. Today on our show, we are going to have Jarrett. Jarrett is from Atlanta in Georgia in the USA. So let's see what Jarrett has to say. Enjoy the interview. Hello.
Hello, how's it going?
Hello Jarrett, I'm very well, how are you?
Good, how about you?
I'm very well, thanks so much. Thanks for taking the time for the interview, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
By the way, you are my first interview of 2022.
Oh, yay. Awesome.
I was in Canada. I just came back yesterday to London, so it's the first day I'm doing shooting this year. And I'm a bit rocky as well because of the weather change.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was like minus 18 in Canada, and I arrived through Lisbon, and it was like plus 12. And I came to London, it was like 0, -1. So I've been like all over the place.
Well, I'm glad that you made it back safely with COVID and everything, with the traveling craziness.
Yes, I'm just, I did my PCR test. I'm just waiting now for the results. I'm just quarantined now at home. So I might receive by tomorrow. So fingers crossed.
Yeah.
Jarrett, before we start the game, tell me where you're from.
So I'm from all over, but right now I live in Atlanta.
And what's the best part of living in Atlanta, in your opinion?
Best part of living in Atlanta, I love the diversity here and the ability to kind of go and get anything that you want when it comes to food or culture, experiences, shows, museums, great like walkable parks and outdoor spaces and things like that. So yeah, it's a great city here.
I see. I had a few guests from Atlanta on the show already.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a few of them. And what do you do for a living?
So I have a couple of different businesses. So I'm a loan officer with Guaranteed Rate, and I do mortgages and refinances with them. And then I'm also a photographer, so I do headshots and portraits and things like that. So, part-time actor, performer, but it's been a while since I've done that, just because of life and COVID shutdowns and things like that.
So tell me a little bit about your career as a loan officer.
Yeah, so my journey, I was not in finance at all. My undergrad degree was in creative writing, and I took the artist path, and I was a teacher, educator. I taught college in South Korea for a long time.
Wow.
And then I worked at Apple, running a creative team there. And so I got to this space because I really love learning, and I felt like this was the one space that I knew nothing about, and I wanted to actually get ready for the future and retirement and get into investing. And I started looking into real estate investing, and I actually applied to buy a 4-unit property. And the loan officer that I was working with was around when life changed, and I got connected with him, and he was like, "You would be a great loan officer. Your profile." A lot of people don't know this, but to be a loan officer, the government actually picks through your finances with a fine-tooth comb to make sure that you are personally in good standing, and then if you pass the government background check from a financial standpoint, then you can apply and get licensed. And so
Wow.
he got to see that up close because, he was looking at my income and my savings and investments and debt and all of that. And so he knew kind of where I sat from that perspective and said, you should check it out. And so I decided to jump in, and I was already connecting in the photography space, doing headshots for real estate agents, and doing a little bit of interior real estate photography, and then I was thinking about getting my own real estate license, but I have so many realtor friends I just didn't want to compete with. I wanted to work with. And so I decided, what's a way I can collaborate without competing with friends? And so I found this space as a loan officer and jumped in. So I'm still doing photography as well. And so it's kind of a nice secondary life career that I've jumped into, which has been really interesting, using a different part of my brain than I have in the past as a performer. So
I see. Right. So through the interview, I'm going to explore a little bit about your photographer career and also as a performing artist. Okay.
okay.
So are you ready to go on a beautiful journey through your memories in life and to share your point of views?
Okay. Awesome.
Welcome to William and the Magic Box. So I have here a lovely box full of random fun questions, okay? I'm just gonna play a song now just for us to move a little bit before the first question. Ready?
Yes, I'm ready.
Let's do it, Jarrett. Yes, you can help me dance. Very good. Right, so before the first question, just through the game, if there is a question that you don't have an answer for, you don't want to answer, I always can change, okay? It's all very friendly, right?
Yeah.
First question for you is, how would you like to be remembered in life?
Ooh, good question. I think if I could have a legacy of some perspective, I think so many people probably leave this life and aren't remembered, and I don't know what that legacy is yet, but I want to leave it, with having touched lives, having helped people become a better version of themselves. And if that means fame, so be it. If that means just, a certain group of people that tell the story of the time that I connected with them and they had some impact, great. It doesn't have to be one or the other, but just to be able to leave this life with a legacy and impact, I think is where I would feel.
And saying that, what's the meaning of life for you, in your opinion?
The meaning of life, I think, that there's a connecting spirit that we all have in us. Some people call it God, some people call it other things, but I think that to discover that and to find the connection that we all have from a spiritual perspective is the true meaning in life. Money comes, money goes, and when we connect with that spiritual space, I believe we intrinsically become creative and we create new art and literature and film and dance and performance and even create new routines and habits that serve us well. And so connecting to that spiritual space, I think, is probably what I would say the purpose and meaning for me anyway.
Very good answer. I love that. I totally agree. I think life is about to be lived. It's about to connect with people, learning every day, making mistakes, achieving things, sharing. So I think all this is about life. That's what I understand as well. Next question for you, Jarrett. Let's do it. Right. Next question for you is, what do you like the most in your best friends?
My best friends. I think that the friends that I'm closest to are the ones that are least judgmental. I think the ones that have an outlook of positivity, and when things happen in life that are unexpected or maybe unwanted, they can still find ways to navigate around it, to get to a positive space again, or even through it to see what lesson that particular event has. So the people that I end up connecting with on a deeper level are the ones that, one, they want to connect and they want to get past small talk and get to some deeper levels, and two, they have the ability to see the positive in life and assume the positive in other people, and three, just people that have fun and don't get too carried away in the seriousness of life in the world.
Your best friends, they live in Atlanta as well, or live in a different place?
All over, yeah. I think having lived in different spaces and places, I have connections, across the world, and I tend to make new friends wherever I go, and so that's something that I love, is all the connections I've made worldwide. I would say my very, very best friend from college lives in South Korea.
Right. Next question. Let's do it. Before the next question, Jarrett, tell me a little bit about your performing actor career. When you started, how did you start your career?
So, like many, church music was a big part of my life growing up. And, my first ever performance, my mom gave me one of these, Casio keyboards that are about this long. I think it had 16 keys or 24 keys or something like that. And I was in pre-K, and she taught me to play Do-A Deer from The Sound of Music. And so I was probably 4 years old, 3 years old, something like that, and played it and sang it in show and tell in pre-K. And that was my first ever performance. And then I remember there was a TV show, this might age me, but there was a TV show called Fame, and I would jump up on the coffee table every day that it would come on, and I would dance the opening number and sing it with my mother. And so those two are probably the very first starts, I think. And then just in school, being selected to be the singer in your class, or things like that, and then kind of navigating that until in high school I participated in theater, both community theater and something called one act play. And so yeah, it was a good start. And I actually didn't really find my way into professional theater until later, because I went to the sciences and the pre-med life, and I didn't think that I was going to do performing, and I found my way back to it accidentally. So
very good, very good. Next question for you is, where do you see yourself living when you retire?
I would love to live abroad again. I think Thailand, Vietnam, Mexico. I see myself kind of being on the water somewhere. I love the beach, but who knows? Life happens. I'm going to find joy wherever I live.
Very good. Next question, Jarrett from Atlanta. Let's go. Next question for you is, good question. What does love mean to you?
Love. I think love is, patient. Love is kind. Love to me is about learning to deal with failure. I think we fail ourselves every day, and we have to learn to love ourselves, and that's the only way that we can love ourselves through our own shortcomings, in order to be able to love someone else in their shortcomings. I think that's the answer, and what a lot of us miss is we look for someone else to fill in for our shortcomings, but really first we have to be able to like deal with our own shortcomings and love ourselves through that in order to be able to love someone else.
Do you believe that there are different kinds of love?
I do. Yeah. I think there's enough love for all different kinds of love. Yeah.
Very good. Yeah, I believe love, it's you can love your pet, you can love your family, you can love your partner, you can love your lover. You know, there's different kinds of love. I think all of them comes from a very special place. It's a good feeling of love, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I kind of like the Greek model where they called different love different things. Like there was the eros, like sexual love.
Mm-hmm.
There's the filio, like brotherly love, and I think as we navigate love, like sometimes we end up, mixing them, which is okay, because sometimes like you end up with a romantic love with someone that you also have like a friendship love, and that's when you mix those types of loves, then you add the familial love into that, and that like ends up growing. And I think love is boundless, and we have the ability to like grow in lots of different ways in the way that we love.
Absolutely. Sometimes can hurt as well. Sometimes can be very painful. But it's worth taking the journey. It's worth taking the journey for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
Next question, Jarrett. Next question for you is, who's your biggest hero?
My biggest hero, I would say that my biggest hero is probably, I used to say Jesus, and I probably still would say Jesus, but I process it in a really different perspective. I think that when I think about heroes, that I process heroes from a perspective of how they overcome trouble or their own internal struggles, and I think that in many ways all of us are our own heroes. Whenever you get out of bed in the morning, you are overcoming the temptation to stay in bed and say, screw you, life. And so I think that for me, the divine, Jesus, is someone that had a lot of whatever you believe about him, being the Son of God or resurrection or any of those parts, but just from a historical perspective, he overcame a lot and ended up starting a movement that changed the world, and that to me, he did it with humility and was constantly teaching and helping other people with their own problems internally, and teaching how to navigate life. And those teachings still, back to your other question about leaving a legacy or what we want to be remembered for, I think that that's something to aspire to. No matter whether you're Jewish, Muslim, Christian, or nothing, like having the ability to go through this life helping other people grow and learn is heroic, and part of that is helping yourself grow and learn and developing your own process to be a better version of yourself, which makes you a hero, and through your own journey, you help other people as well. So I don't know, that might have been like a roundabout answer to your question, but to me, it all connects.
Absolutely. I think hero, as you said, I think the definition of hero, it's all about, you know what I mean, leaving a legacy. It's about like touching people's hearts or people's minds, or leave your signature in the world. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
Somehow, that's what hero is for. Next question. Let's do it. But before the next question, I would like to tell me how photography came into your life, how you start your career, and also what's the best part of being a photographer and what's the most challenging part?
So I got into photography when I was modeling, actually, and we could talk about like, you know, body image and all of those things, but I was way more interested in what was behind the camera than trying to look pretty for the camera. So I had a photographer who was shooting, and I kept going to the camera and asking him questions. And he said, "Let's just get through the shoot, and then I will take you. We will like talk photography." And so I think he was more annoyed with me than anything else. But he ended up. We finished the shoot and connected, and he became a great friend and a great mentor in photography. And I ended up going with him and buying my first digital SLR camera back in 2005, and he started teaching me from there, and I've been doing it ever since. So you know, that's how I started, and then I have, you know, taken it from kind of a personal passion to a business, you know, and so that's where I am now, and I love capturing moments. I love capturing people and helping them. My favorite thing to hear is like, I love this photo. I had no idea that I looked like that. And people see a different version of themselves sometimes when other people take their pictures, and then when they're taking a selfie or something like that. So yeah.
And what's the most challenging part, in your opinion?
Marketing. You know, I think whenever you turn any passion into a business, you start to like judge your you know, bottom line, your profits and things like that. And so I think whenever you run your own business as an entrepreneur, you don't have like someone else doing it for you. And so I think for me, the marketing piece is probably the most challenging.
I see. Okay. Next question for you is, if you could spend an entire day with a family member, who that would be and why?
Entire day. I would probably like to spend it with my grandmother. She's still living, the only one left, and she is in a nursing home and kind of isolated with COVID, you know, and I'll put one caveat, because she is struggling with dementia. I'd like to spend it with her when she had more of her memory, you know, and that we could connect, and I could just hear her kind of tell her stories, and you know, and I could connect with her as an adult and share with her my life, you know, now.
I see. Very good. Next question for you. Let's do it. Right, Jarrett. Next question for you is, what is the worst pickup line have you ever heard?
Ooh, the worst pickup line. I think just like it's just like, you know, it's definitely not something that you're like, oh, you know, like maybe if it's somebody beautiful and you're in that mood, but I think that's probably the least classy like that you can be. You know, I guess it has its place, and I don't want to be too judgmental to anyone that's used that on me. But I also think like there's there's definitely more clever pickup lines in. Don't ask me because I don't use pickup lines, but I think if you're going to use a pickup line, that's not it.
And did it ever happen to you? Somebody approach you this way?
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
Did it work at time or not?
Did it work? Maybe it worked. It has worked, but usually not as like an intro pickup line. Maybe it's like down the road, but you know, definitely not the first thing that someone says to me. I can't think of the time that that's worked, but
just put you in the spot now. Next question. Right. Before the next one, tell me a little bit about your journey in South Korea.
Yeah, so I moved to South Korea when South Korea is an amazing place. So I actually moved to teach in something called a hagwon, which is kind of a preschool, before school and after school learning institution, and it's basically where parents drop their kids off before school to get like extra learning, and then they go after school to get like extra learning. And so in Korea, kids will study before school, they'll go to school all day, and then they'll go to school all night and then come home at like 10, 11 o'clock at night.
Wow.
And that's the educational climate and the culture there. So I started doing that, and I only did it for a month before I actually got fired because they didn't have enough students that particular year. So there's something called intensive season where kids will like get ready for their next year, and they'll all like go to these hagwons, and then it kind of like tapers off and ends up being kind of a normal schedule. And so this particular place hired a bunch of teachers, and then we worked for the intensive month, and then the newest teachers got the axe when they didn't have the enrollment. But that gave me an opportunity to apply for other teaching jobs, and so I ended up teaching in an amazing private school, and then I ended up teaching at a college. And so it was a great time in South Korea.
I see. And just saying about those courses that the children they take before going to school or after, it's a private courses, or the government offer that for the parents?
The one I was at was private, yeah, and I think it depends on what the government subsidizes, depending on the family and the income level and things like that.
I see. And how long you're there for?
5 years.
5 years? Oh, yeah. Very good. Can you speak Korean?
조금이요.
Right. Next question for you is: what has been the lowest point of your life?
Lowest point. Well, I think that 2020 was pretty low. March 17th in Atlanta was stay-at-home orders, and basically all the schools shut down. And I was very much in love, and we broke up that same day. And so I moved out that next week, and while he was in Hawaii, and I just crashed emotionally. Being an extrovert, I love being around people, and I think like probably the biggest heartbreak of my life happened at the same time that like photography gone, you know, my day job gone, my relationship gone, and you know, I had to I you know he had kids, and they, you know, gone, and so it was just a lot, like all at once, you know. And then normally when you go through something like that, which it felt like a divorce, right?
Totally.
And normally when you go through something like that, you have like friends that come around you and are like, let's go out on the town and like let's get your mind off of it. But because we were all quarantined, you know, it was like just me and my thoughts all day long. And so I had a really rough time, and I would say that's probably the lowest. Which is funny because there have been worse things that have happened to me in my life,
Mm-hmm.
definitely. You know, and I try not to like you know, like get wrapped up in trying to rehash those things. You know, being in an abusive relationship definitely by far is a low point. But I think that heartbreak just hit
Mm-hmm.
at a different level. You know, I think that's the the one that you know, it it definitely took me out for a while. And you know, I think when you see someone move on so quickly, you know, and like a month later was in another serious relationship. You know, it's like I think that was the part that I had the hardest time with. So you know, but what it taught me was just kind of like that love is out there, and for the taking. And you know, um, I have I have found someone new, and you know, I think that my learn is that uh, there's not just one person out there for you. If that one person ends up not being that person anymore, there's someone new, you know,
Yeah.
um, and that's helped me kind of process it. So
Absolutely. Yes, I think sometimes life gives those hits in our, you know what I mean, ourselves, sometimes not waiting, expecting, and suddenly, you know, as you said, suddenly, you know, one of the worst time of the year, last year was one year to forget, you know what I mean, to remember, I don't know. I mean, 2020, already 2022 anyway. So I
right,
think, yeah, so I think,
it
yeah, but
feels like it was just last year, but
I
it's like
know.
2 years ago, you know.
I know, I know. It's sometimes when you talk to people about like talk about years, and sometimes you make when you count the years, it's difficult because 2020 was like a blank year. Do you know what I
Yeah,
mean? But anyway, I think the good part is when you see the positive message out of it, when you realize why you went through that situation, why
yeah,
that happened to us, when you find the answers, I think that's when we appreciate more. But I'm sure at the time, of course, you get lost. For you, life is difficult. You don't find the lights out there. But after when you get over it, you start to answer the questions that wasn't answered at the time, for sure. For sure.
right.
3 questions left for you, Jarrett. Let's do it. Next question for you is, what gives you butterflies?
Mm. Butterflies in a good way or butterflies not in a good way?
Just because you said that, both ways, I'd like you to answer.
All right. Um, so I think butterflies in a good way is when you approach your fear and you just are like in it, you know, and like you're doing the things that you're most afraid of, whether it's performing on stage or going to that audition, going to that job interview, going to on a date with someone new, you know. All of those things I think are good butterflies. That like that anxiety, uh, you know, it and energy is a good thing because you're pushing yourself past your comfort zone, and that's only gonna bring you to a better space, a better place. The and I think the same for the negative. You know, when you, I think, get anxious because something is not finished. You know, that you didn't like stay on top of the laundry, or you didn't do all that you wanted to do at work that day, and that is the same energy, but it comes from like not doing the things that you fear, you know, and that butterfly is something that you can actually like approach and then end up turning it into like the positive butterfly, you know, by tackling it.
I see. Okay, next question for you is, describe yourself in a positive and a negative word only.
A negative, I think, it would be indecisive.
Okay.
And then a positive would be action oriented.
I like this word. 2 questions left. Let's do it. Before the next one, what's the most challenging part of living in Atlanta?
The most challenging part of living in Atlanta, I think, is there's no real water. You know, there like Lake Lanier is not far. It's like 45 minutes, and that's got a beach and it's great. But you know, like unlike other cities, there's no beach or river or you know things like that in the city. So it can be hard to like get close to a water source that you feel kind of like connected to the earth with.
I see. Next question for you is, what is the first thing that you think about when you wake up, usually?
So the first thing I think about is I actually have been doing something called the 5-second rule from Mel Robbins, and life-changing. Like it has literally it worked the very first day I tried it. I previously was a chronic snoozer, and I would snooze and snooze and snooze, and I've done that since I got my first alarm clock, and it's just been like part of my habit. And I stumbled across a Mel Robbins, maybe it was on YouTube, but anyway, she had this idea one day that if she counted backwards from 5 and like a rocket ship jumped out of bed, then she could overcome her habit to snooze. And it worked. And apparently it's a meta cognition tactic to trick your brain to not like talk yourself out of something. And so the first thing I think about is counting back from 5 to get out of bed with my first alarm.
It's so interesting saying that now, because it made me think. I never, when you leave your alarm for 3-4 times snoozing, I never had this habit, but I can get out of the bed very easily, quick. But the problem is afterwards. Like sometimes when I'm making my bed, or if I'm doing something, it can take forever. And yeah. I'm working on it now. That, for example, last year, before I went to Canada, my last week at work, I started doing this kind of, I just work with myself. Okay, I'm gonna try to change these habits. And it makes a big difference, because I was going to work much earlier, and I was organizing myself much earlier with things that I need to do. But making the bed, sometimes making my bed, I could do like in 2 minutes, and it takes me like 5-10 minutes, because I don't know, I was lost in my thoughts, very slow before my shower, very slow. And I started doing that. I started to watch myself on this, and it makes a difference for sure. My God, I started doing that. Very good. Ready for the last question?
Sure.
Let's do it. But before the last question, would you like to tell me, when you think about South Korea, what is the most beautiful, let's say, thoughts that you have from there, your memories from South Korea?
So my memories, I think that South Korea was the first time that I had to be confronted with all of me. You know, I think so often when you still live around your family and people you grew up with, you end up kind of being able to hide from yourself, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
And South Korea made me see all of the crap in my life that I wasn't happy with, and I think that enabled me to start dealing with it and start to like process, you know, who I am and who I want to be. But the first step was like acknowledging who I was and who, you know, what bad habits I had and things that, like, you know, you don't realize when, you know, you're in a familiar space, you know, but when you kind of go into a space that you've never been in, you kind of get confronted with the things in your life that maybe you've been hiding from yourself. And so that from a memory perspective, I remember I was really struggling with insomnia and kind of like my recurring thoughts at night just keeping me up, and I decided to try out Ambien, a prescription for a sleep medication, and so it did not go well. I remember my boss bring me into her office and say, you know, Professor Heatherly, do you remember calling me at 4 a.m?
Oh my God.
I had no recollection of it whatsoever. And so I very quickly took myself off of sleeping meds and just dealt with my insomnia from a more holistic perspective, and like doing some CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy, and kind of, I call it bouncing thoughts. And yeah, that to me was probably a larger memory.
Wow. Interesting. Last question for you is, what do you like the most about yourself?
I think that my love of learning and growing. I think it keeps me young. It keeps my brain working, and I'm constantly trying to learn new things and grow and do new things, and never sitting still and being a person that is stagnant. That's probably something I love, you know, for myself.
Good for you, Jarrett. Right, not the end yet. Okay, let's play now the word association game. So I'm going to give away some words. Just tell me one word that comes to your mind. Quick thinking. One word for money.
Green.
Family.
Love.
How about sex?
Great.
Life.
Difficult.
Love.
Difficult.
Politics. Difficult. Okay.
Yeah, let me try a different one. Politics, I would say divisive.
Okay. Religion.
Divisive. No, I think religion limiting.
Okay. How about fear?
Powerful.
True. Friendship.
Life-giving.
Desire.
I have an image of someone running towards it.
Ooh. I'm not gonna ask who is this person. Regrets.
Waste.
Success.
Fleeting.
Wish.
Wish.
Yeah.
Birthday cake.
Oh, nice one. Happiness.
I think of the song. These days are ours. Happy days.
Very good. One word for Atlanta.
hot.
One word for South Korea.
Red. I don't know why that came up, but red.
One word for USA.
Water.
Okay. One word for photographer.
Beauty.
And the last one now, one word for loan officer.
Strength.
Very good, very good. If I would meet your best friend now for a coffee, and I would ask your best friend, tell me the most beautiful thing about Jarretts, and tell me something that he still needs to work on, to improve on. What do you think your best friend will tell me?
I'd love to know. So probably my best friend would say one thing I love about Jarrett is he is always willing to help anybody in need, even at the expense of what he needs. And what he needs to work on is prioritizing his own needs instead of others at times.
Have you seen some improvements since you know that?
Yes, absolutely.
Very good. Let's play now Jarrett in the magic box, and you can ask me a question. Jarrett from Atlanta, you can ask me a question now.
So who has made the biggest impact on your life, and how does it play out in your day-to-day life?
Very easy question. I love this question, actually. As a child, I grew up back in Brazil. I grew up in a family who, let's say, I was being very free as a child. I'm very fortunate, lucky that my parents, again, of course, in the 80s, you know what I mean? There's no technology, you just like living life, you know what I mean? You're playing every day, you need to make plans to everything. And there is someone that's, it's my biggest idol. Her name is Xuxa. It's a Brazilian entertainer. She had this program for children daily, like every day, Monday to Saturday, and this was I remember, I think every person in Brazil from the 80s, not just Brazil but also of America, Argentina, as well as Spain, she was coming every morning in this Starship, and this morning, so the Starship was opening, this beautiful Barbie was coming like every day, full of like music, you know, cartoons, and interacting with people. But the main thing was she was very positive and bringing always positive message during her show, to follow your dreams, to believe in yourself, like daily. She was well known for that, actually. People nowadays, when she meets people, they go like, oh my God, today I don't smoke because of you. Nowadays I follow my dreams, I career because of you. So I everything in my life, like sometimes when I think about her, is a big impact. She literally left a big impact in my life, because I remember as a child growing up, you know, not having a lot of opportunities as a child, but I always had this mindset of like, the world, not everything's possible if you want it, if you go after your dreams. So even nowadays, you know what I mean, when I go, most of her songs is for children, you know, but all of them, they have this positive message, and I still have I go to the gym and I always listen to those songs. It gives me such a good energy. It gives me some, you know what I mean? So yes, and actually I'm talking to you and I'm seeing here like my YouTube, there's many pictures of her because I listen to all of her music. So yeah, so Xuxa, it's a Brazilian entertainer that I'm very grateful for her, because nowadays it always will be. People, all my friends, people who I know, they sometimes they go like, oh my God, really, still like Xuxa? Like before, I said, of course, and I always will. So yeah, she had a big impact in my life, and I'm so grateful for that I've learned a lot. And nowadays, I always go after my dreams, and I'm not scared of, you know what I mean, of pursuing, of going after that, because of her, because she was there every morning. I was listening to those songs, to listen to her message, and I think she left a big impact in my life for sure. Okay. Jarrett, did you have a good time? Did you enjoy the interview?
Yes, thank you.
No, thank you so much for taking the time for for the interview. And thanks for being my first guest of 2022. I mean, my first interview. I've done some interviews in the past and still going on this year, but you're my first interview of 2022. Can't wait for another season to do another interview with you again next year to see how much you changed, how much your point of view has, you know what I mean, changed as well. Like, you know, we change a lot. Like day by sometimes we change, like in a blink of eyes, we change our point of views of the way we face life. So yeah. But before you go, I would like to share a positive message or a positive quote, something that inspires you in life.
Your story will end up being somebody else's survival guide. And I love when I read that. I don't know who to attribute it to. Maybe if we find out, we can put it in the comments. But you know, your story is going to be somebody else's survival guide someday. So just remember that as you're going through your own struggles in your own life.
Wow, that's powerful. My God, I love that. Powerful, powerful. Jarrett, Happy New Year. Enjoy this year ahead. And we'll keep in touch. Thanks so much for the interview and we'll keep in touch, okay? All the best.
Thank you.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye. So, did you like the show? Don't forget to give a like, to share it, and also don't forget to subscribe to the channel. And if you'd like to be part of the show as well, first, subscribe to our channel, and after that, just go to our website, www.williamandthemagicbox.com, and send us a request saying why you'd like to be part of the show. And I see you there. Bye-bye. See you next time.